There actually are two performances that the company is doing while here. One is a roving performance, meaning it's sort of traversing the entire campus, and they found some new spots that even staff had forgotten existed, and doing some really creative and inventive and what's the word I'm looking for, ingenious ways of making that part of the campus come alive. The other thing that's happening is main stage performance on the Henry J. Leir Stage, which is the one that you were supposed to see this evening. And in that program, there are two brand new premieres that are happening. And so, Nicholas, I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about the work that we were going to see.
Yeah, absolutely. My piece is entitled Untitled Waveforms. It was, as you can imagine, reflecting on my experiences during the pandemic. So there is the first piece was choreographed after our residency here, but it's really just bringing the company together in a circle, kind of hoping to show the audience what we do, our energy, and the way we like to just come together in a room and share musical ideas a cappella without any music. It's using a lot of kind of classic swing choreography, what I would consider classic swing choreography, and you know, some swinging kind of pocket funky grooves. So you'll see a little bit of that. Other pieces, we're dealing with kind of, I wanted to find ways to explore with things kind of falling apart or descending into chaos without it being chaotic musically. So I decided to do that through the use of polyrhythms, which is something I like to do a lot anyway, and just overlapping those ideas, these like constant folding over of musical ideas. And also thinking about that in the way I was using the dancers. One of the segments you'll see, we use what we call partials. So if there's 4 beats, you know, I'm only using 3 beats, and then we're moving those 3 beats in series. So it's like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So constantly moving that, but then layering those, are staggering those, so that it really just sort of feels like it's all falling apart or getting a little bit wilder and wilder. And then there's also segments where the dancers are performing that musical idea but improvising it. So there's just lots of like constantly changing use of some of the same ideas, you know. And then there's a piece where we kind of deal with isolation. There are solos that are improvised by the dancers, so you'll get to see a little bit of Luke Hickey's solo. His is actually the first one. So out of this madness, this sort of like chaotic breathing that's happening, it just dissipates very quickly, and he's left alone on stage. And I think that's very obvious in the ways he carries himself in that moment. You can see it in his face that he's trying to really experience that, or re-experience it, because we all experience that isolation. And the last piece was just trying to resolve into happiness and joy. I wanted to give the dancers the ability to, or the opportunity to interpret the music, which is a Bjork cover, All Is Full of Love, and wanted to give them the space to sort of create their own voice.
I'm thinking about what you said, Nick, about the different sort of grooves from section to section of the music, and it made me think about, you know, how in hip hop, like a really good MC, you're looking at two things. You're looking at not only like their rhyme scheme, but you're also looking at the way that they flow. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering, is there like a tap equivalent to that? Like the way that you groove with the music and your style, and or like those things are not the same thing, maybe? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm not asking the question the right way.
I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think we spend a lot of time training our ear. Well, we listen to a lot of different styles of music. Most tap dancers I know started off listening to jazz and learning traditional tap dance choreography, which is all swing based. I mean, when you learn the laps, they swing because they swing, and they were, you know, all of our basics, all of our foundation steps, all swing. But then you start to dive deeper into music and start to experiment with other musical styles. So I think we're just constantly trying to have as many decks playing as possible, you know, so we can remix our ideas. And I, you know, certainly for me, I like to absorb as much information as I can and let it, you know, see how it filters into my work. I've done a lot of teaching. I had a program called Institute for the Rhythmic Arts that was kind of based on that theory, which it was teaching tap dancing, body percussion, traditional drumming, and hand percussion, and then also talking about the origins of the instruments and the culture that they came from, the style of music that they're played. So sort of this like passport of music, and the idea was not to like have a crossbreed of these forms, not like tap dance and body percussion at the same time, or like drumming and tap dancing at the same time, but just see how these ideas would filter through and affect the dancers. So I don't know if that answered your question. But.
Maybe this is a good transition to talk about your piece and your collaboration with Keon.
Yes.
So, go for it.
So my piece is entitled Praise, the Inevitable Fruit of Gratitude. And the movement and the choreography and the inspiration is 100% fueled by Keon's music. Last December, he played some of these new compositions that he had just written and recorded, and I just fell in love with them immediately. And, you know, in the moment, just felt like compelled to do something to it. And I proposed the idea to Michelle, and she's like, yeah, let's do it now. So I was like, okay. And the world that I exist in, for those of you who don't know my work or my style of dancing, it's primarily in the traditional jazz realm, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And so this is contemporary jazz music that's not that. And it's been a nice journey to step outside of my comfort zone and to create in a world that's not my bag, so to speak, and push myself in new ways and learn and grow and push the dancers in new ways. And so it's just been an amazing process. And I hope that the choreography reflects the music. That was the main purpose, was just to find a way to translate what I felt and make it, from listening to it, and make a visual to the feeling, as opposed to, these are beautiful steps that go along with this music. I wanted to really convey the emotion that this music evoked, and so that was the main purpose. In the excerpt, you will see small segments of a few pieces. The first one is called Hallelujah, which actually, the funny story about this, I was in the shower, and I heard this line, because after Keon and I spoke, I told him about my year and, you know, things that I had gone through, and I said I want the show to be about praise, and I want it to be about being grateful that we've survived this crazy year and we're on the other side. And so he was in agreement with that. And so I was in the shower and I heard this line, dee-da-da, dee-da-da, with the 6/8 feel. So I jumped out and I recorded a voice note, drumming on my thighs, singing this line, and I sent it to him. And then he composed this masterpiece just from this line that I sang to him, like in the shower. So that's cool. The first piece. Yeah, that's really cool. That's just, it just came from in my head, and I was like, wait, this would be perfect. And he was, you know, on board and didn't say, you know, he didn't look down on it. He just took it and then created this. So that's the opening number. Actually, there's a number before, but it's not in the excerpt. That's his solo called Traveler's Theme Adagio. Then this piece is called Hallelujah. Then it's followed by another piece called Inevitable, which is a couples piece that kind of explores the idea of the coming back together, you know, out of isolation. What happens when you can actually hug again and touch each other and date? And, you know, so this piece is about that moment of people actually looking at each other face to face for the first time, and then what happens when you actually have to touch, and all of that. So
Hugs have never been as good as they are right now,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. So that's what this piece is, just being grateful for human contact.
Yeah.
And then it's followed by Abandoned Heart, which is where we definitely felt the pressure of being I don't know what. It's an amazing piece that we all had difficulties finding where the one was. And so the choreography is featuring a dancer, Frat Hashiri, and the main story of her role in this is this tormented experience of like trying to push through, right? And in that, the choreography itself, just because the rhythms are so complicated and the music is so complicated, the choreography has this angst to it as well. And so the combination of her storytelling with the dancers behind, I feel, kind of pays homage to this piece. Then that's followed by Feeling Good, I believe. And this is kind of just everyone's together doing happy movement, vernacular jazz. You can't be sad when you do vernacular jazz. It's so upbeat and up-tempo, but to contemporary music.
Yeah.
And that was what I wanted to explore, and it's my first time stepping out of the traditional palette of music and putting it to contemporary music, and I felt that it was successful, and everyone's enjoying it so far. So.
It's in the pocket.
It's in the pocket. It works because it's a continuum. All of the moves that we have now in hip hop are a continuation of this, and so it's nice to just directly implant it now.
I was actually going to ask about that. That Dorrance Dance is seen and is primarily a tap company, and yet Efrat is very much a member of the collective. And so, what's the approach to incorporating? And I should also say Matthew.
Mega as well.
So, what's the approach to incorporating their vocabulary into any of the works, I guess is maybe my question.
I mean, I'll just speak about the point of origin. Efrat and I actually, as much as we'd crossed paths a number of times, whether it was in the Broadway Dance Center dressing room on 57th Street or just in the community, whether it was at a club, house community, hip hop community stuff, we really spent good time together in Derek Grant's Imagine Tap, which is 2006. Joseph Wiggan was my partner, Josette's brother, in the show. And another B-boy was in the show, Cyclone, B-boy Cyclone, and DP1 was our DJ, who is actually part of a conglomerate where they are turntablists, DJs and breakers and graffiti artists, and they spit. They I don't know, they're killers. Turntable Annihilus, I believe, is what he's a part of. Anyway, I say that also because DP1 is now a host of a thing that we started accidentally in the school many years ago, which is the All Styles Battle. We started it very casually one night. Now it is an event here, so I should just say that for the archives. But with that said, Derek was paying homage in Imagine Tap to the fact that these cultures are so deeply connected, which we all know, right? And it's so rare to see them literally on stage together with that in mind, or certainly was at the time. Yeah. So and we also know the stories of the early B-boys and B-girls, B-people, dissecting footage of the Nicholas Brothers and various other flash and tap dance acts, and we know about the legacy of footwork. Literally, the first time I saw house dance, before I knew what it was, I thought it was tap dancing. I thought they were fake tap dancing in the club. I was like, this is crazy! And then I learned what house dancing was, but I was a teenager, I didn't know any better.
Well, anyway. When I turn the sound off on a house performance, it just looks like early jazz to me. It's because it actually, in a way that hip hop doesn't, it swings. Right. It really, really swings.
Oh, man. And unless we find that we can intersect with a new jack swing, which has that hard edge of swing, which we were talking about the other day. I mean, all of us love this, and that's one of the reasons it feels so good in Feeling Good to sit in there. So with that said, working with Efrat and Matthew are really a continuation of. First of all, our cultures have been connected. We were always invited by Brian Green to the House Dance Conference to shuffle and hoof and be a part of the experience. And if we're not doing the same thing, what are we doing to keep these communities connected and keep the legacies connected and keep the histories connected, and to be mindful and supportive of the cultural impact of this entire legacy, tap dance being older than any of it, including jazz music, right? So I think it is just, first of all, I think we can all agree that we're just inspired by one another, and to be in the room together is so inspiring. To be in the cipher together, in a freestyle circle together, is so exciting. Yeah. So it's kind of a no-brainer, except that it seems like, wait, oh wow, I'm surprised, but it comes from a really organic place.
Yeah.